Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Drop Lob Pod. My name is Eric Perbikin, and I'm here with my co-host, Nathan.
What's up, guys? I'm Nathan. I'm happy to be back again with another episode, and we're lucky today to be joined by our first guest on the podcast. He was our former colleague at the USTA National Campus and a longtime tennis coach. Welcome on, Coach Charlie Pittman. Do you want to tell him a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, guys. Wait, is it drop lot or drop and lob?
It's the Drop Lob Pod. The
Drop
pilot
Lob
episode,
Pod.
there was a little bit of uncertainty as to which direction the name was going to take, but we've got it nice and settled down now.
Nice. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. We go back a few years from the campus days. Nathan from the front desk, kicking people off the courts too. Everybody's favorite guy. Got Edmundo. Good to see you. It's been a while. But yeah, I'm happy to be on here. A little background. Spent about 7 years at the campus, almost since when it opened. And before that was just playing club tennis at UCF. Not too high of a level, but grew up playing tennis and had a good time. Got to make it a profession of mine for a good chunk of my life. So very appreciative of the tennis, and also still an avid watcher of the ATP mostly, and a little WTA too. So
I think I should add that Coach Charlie and I were roommates for the past year and a half or so, and I definitely roped him to watching his fair share of all levels of tennis, from ATP, WTA, some UTR tour on Amazon Prime, to a little bit of everything. So yeah, I think we've seen more than our fair share. I think Coach Charlie will be in here for some good input. And on that note, let's go ahead and get into our topics. A lot of these will be building on things that we discussed in our second episode. Because as you guys know, tennis goes on 24/7, 365, never stops. So let's go ahead and start with a recap of the Paris Masters. That's one of our 1,000 tournaments, the biggest tournaments that we have in the ATP besides the four majors. Unsurprisingly, I think to most tennis fans, the Paris Masters were won by none other than Jannik Sinner. With that win, he took world number one back over from Carlos Alcaraz. At this point, it's pretty much a two-man battle between them. And he did just beat Felix Auger-Aliassime in the finals, 6-4, 7-6. Jannik Sinner didn't drop a set all week in the tournament, which is quite impressive even for him. Felix put up probably the best fight that we've seen against him, and he's quite a good indoor court player. With that being said, I'll go to you first, Coach Edick. Were you surprised that Jannik Sinner came out victorious in this tournament in straights the way he did? And I'm going to add another question there for you. What do you think of his 6-0, 6-1 victory over world number 3, Alexander Zverev?
Definitely not surprised at all by him winning. As we talked about, after Alcaraz went out, it was really his to lose, and he got it done. Felix put up a great fight. He's been playing very well. Zverev had a nice win over Medvedev. He had lost many matches in a row against him, and on the back of that, he gets absolutely bashed, you could say, by Sinner. And here we go again with Zverev sort of being a mental midget, if I'm being quite honest. And, losing 0-1, he only got one more game than I did, and I didn't play the match. So that's all I'm going to say.
That's a great way to put it, Coach Edick. It should be noted that Zverev had lost 9 of his last 10 matches against Daniil Medvedev. As Ben Shelton would say, Medvedev was Zverev's daddy for a while there. Zverev did save 2 match points on serve down 4-5 in the final set, as well as climbing back into the match from being down a set and a break initially in the second. So there was some mental fortitude shown, but it does seem to be at this point that he doesn't feel too capable in terms of beating Sinner or Alcaraz, the players that a couple years ago he was really in that conversation for winning some majors against. So kicking over to you, Coach Charlie, are you surprised that Jannik Sinner took this home? And why do you think that Zverev has such trouble against the top 2 at this point? Like, what is something you think maybe is missing from his game that those guys have in theirs?
Yeah, those top two guys, they're just so well-rounded. They have their strengths and weaknesses, but they're so good at executing their game plan. And I think just it's two things. One is just the headspace. Like in my opinion, I don't think he believes in himself to be able to beat those guys. Like, that's what it seems to be for Zverev. Like he will lose time and time and again to a lot of the same players. And I feel like it's just because he doesn't believe he can do it. He proved me wrong on that by beating Medvedev, but I think he had lost 5 times in a row before that to Medvedev. So he's got a little bit over the hump there, but not even close with that different caliber of level. I would say, I think even he would say his hands are not that great at the net, so he's not going to put too much, timing pressure on those guys that can move so well. So I think that's another thing is, he needs to get that transition and hands around the net to be able to close points off and take some time away from them. But yeah, I'm not surprised that Sinner won. He's unbelievable on the indoors. So straight away,
Yeah.
straight through to the finish line, easy. I was impressed by Felix though.
Yeah.
You see him hit some forehands, and you're like, man, this guy can compete with anybody. But then you see him hit some backhands, and yeah, you're like, okay. See why.
Let's see, if you combined Felix's forehand with Zverev's backhand into one player, do you think they'd have a shot at winning a match against the Jannik Sinner? I personally will start by saying I think that they definitely have a chance just because Zverev took him to 3 and Felix has been so close with the U.S. Open here at the indoors. I think we'll have to have an episode where we create some hypothetical player combinations and see if we think they can take out the top two, which should just show the absurd gap between the top two and everybody else that we actually have to go to those lengths just to find somebody that can beat these guys. But it should be noted, like, they were in all 4 major finals this year, them too. They've asserted their dominance. But yeah, Charlie, do you think that a combination of those two could have taken Sinner out, or do you think it still ends up the same?
I think it's like with the Felix forehands, Zverev backhand, I give that combination like a 30% chance to beat Sinner.
Coach Attic?
It's just because
I
Sinner's
don't.
lateral movement, he's just slide. Its movement is insane.
Yeah, no, it is.
I just still think that I would take Sinner's forehand and backhand over either one of those, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and Felix's forehand can go off at any point, and Zverev's is very consistent, but other than the backhand down the line, he's not really hitting winners off of it that much.
That's a very fair point. I think I'd have to agree that I'd still be taking Sinner. I mean, he's flexible. He moves like Daniil and freaking hits balls like nobody. I mean, he's just, yeah, he's all around complete. I think the only thing that really will ever give Alcaraz even the advantage over him is the big forehand and the creativity to his game. So it's interesting to see how those two continue to stay on par with each other as they continue. And to note with that, the race to Turin is now finalized. Turin is where the ATP finals at the end of the year, where they take the top 8 ATP players in terms of points earned throughout the 2025 calendar year and invite them to a sort of finals to crown the best player of the year in Turin, which is in Italy. Coach Charlie, you're a little more worldly than me. Yes, Charlie is relatively well-traveled, so to speak. So in Turin, Italy, we had a little bit of surprise. We had most of our top players locked in. The biggest storyline from this tournament was Lorenzo Musetti, who's been now kind of a staple in the top 10 for the last couple of years, top 15, hanging on to that 8th spot going into the tournament. And it looked like somebody was going to need to do something big to pass him. Felix making the finals was that big thing. So Felix went ahead and overtook him for that 8th spot, making Musetti an alternate for the tournament.
Can I just real quick, Nate? So there's still tournaments this week, so Musetti still has a chance to make it because he's playing in Athens and Felix is playing in Metz. So depending on how they do there, that 8th spot is still up for grabs.
And that's why we have Eddick here to correct me. But that being said, Felix has still overtaken him in that 8th spot. Musetti took a maybe not a super bad loss, because I think that at least Charlie and I believe probably Edic as well, have respect for Lorenzo Sonego's game. He has a lot of upside when he's playing well. I think he has an ability to play out of his mind from time to time, but his consistency's not usually there. Do you think that that's a disappointing loss for him, or one he can kind of brush off? We'll go to you first, Coach Edic.
Musetti's had an up and down year. He had a really good year last year. He shouldn't be losing to someone like Sonego if he's trying to contend for the World Tour Finals. Again, not a lot of weapons. Slices the backhand a lot, like Benjamin Tauber does, and he struggles against those big players that can hit it heavy.
That's another one of our former coworkers we'll be getting on here in a later episode. Coach Charlie, what about you? You think that that's an unacceptable loss for a player like that?
Yeah, no, he cannot. In that situation, he's got to make a push. You know, it's for the ATP finals. You know, a lot of points, a lot of money on the line. That's got to be super disappointing, and it just shows how disappointing it is that he took a last minute wild card, you know, into the 250. Right? He's trying to get that last spot because nobody knows. I mean, do you guys know if Djokovic is going to be playing the final? I know last year he didn't.
That was going to be my next question. I believe as of now, he's stated that he intends to play it, but obviously it's not like Novak Djokovic has anything left to prove. He doesn't need money. He doesn't need fame. He doesn't need more accolades. So it's really just up to him how his body's feeling on any given day. Obviously, I'm sure he knows the fans would be thrilled to see him there. I'm sure the fans would also understand, or at least the rational ones, however many of those exist, would understand if he chooses to pull out. Also, just note that they're all fighting for the spot that Jack Draper vacated. He had a pretty great year. It's a little bit disappointing that he got injured. The red ball tennis icon, Jack Draper. Right.
Yes.
Do you want to explain the lore behind that real quick, Coach Charlie, now that I made that joke?
Edmundo, were you there? Were you there for, I think, Simon Wheatley?
Yep.
At the USTA National Campus. He showed us a video to all of the coaches of USTA during one of our workshop training sessions. And he was saying, before your red ballers look like this player on the screen, they should not be moving up to orange ball. And it was this, you know, little like 5 or 6 year old kid that was just nailing the ball. And he later on went to say that is Jack Draper. So now we, of course, implemented our policy that if they're not as good as Jack Draper at 5 or 6 years old, they cannot move to orange ball. So Jack Draper, the red ball legend.
I see no problems there. We'll be missing red ball legend.
He should come back to the U.S. because they are growing red ball for adults. So
yeah,
that's a big initiative.
Yeah, Coach Edic and I actually talked about drop or lob on the last episode for that one. I thought he was going to drop it, and he said lob it. So I was pretty impressed by that. But he made a good case for it, and I'm interested to see where that goes. That being said, while we will miss him, early predictions before we move on real quick for the finals. I mean, if anybody picks anybody other than Sinner Alcaraz, I'm going to boot you off right now. I'm going to go ahead and say Sinner. I mean, it's Sinner. We don't really have to get too creative with this one. We saw how he's looked. All of his losses have mostly come to Alcaraz. Alcaraz's form at the moment is slightly in question, and that should be taken with a grain of salt because the standard that we hold Alcaraz to in terms of his form is insanely high. He's one of the greatest players of all time already. I think that Alcaraz, part of what makes him so great in these majors and big moments is that I don't really think that he ever feels like he has anything to prove. He just loves competing and loves the moment. But I think sometimes when the moment isn't big enough for him, he doesn't fully show up. And I'm not sure if even the World Finals is going to be a big enough moment for him to fully desire to lock in and beat Sinner here. And obviously Sinner has the ability to beat him on any given day anyway. We'll bounce this one to you first, Coach Charlie. What's your prediction for the winner of the ATP?
Yeah, I think Sinner's going to take it because I believe if Sinner wins the ATP finals and Alcaraz, if he loses a little bit earlier, Sinner's going to finish as the year-end number 1. So I think he's going to be full steam ahead, you know, trying to trying to dominate this, and it's in his home country, so he's going to have a ton of support. So I'm going Sinner all the way.
Absolutely. And he obviously did take that #1 over today, so he controls his own destiny at this point. Coach Edick, are you going to be creative here? Or are you going to jump on the winning train?
No, I'll take Sinner as well. The only thing I will say is I disagree with you. I think that the moment will be big for Alcaraz because it's the biggest tournament outside of the Grand Slams, and he's never won the ATP World Tour Finals. He's trying to get to finish the world #1. So I think he'll be up for it. I just think Sinner is a little bit stronger right now. Best 2 out of 3, Sinner has the advantage over Alcaraz, so I'll take Sinner.
That is very fair. If Carlos Alcaraz wins this, can't wait to get flamed by all of our friends.
Yes.
It'll be a fun time. So let's jump real quick into quick recaps of the 3 WTA tournaments that went on this past week, all 250s. We had Chennai, we had Hong Kong, we had Zhejiang. We're going to start with Chennai because I actually, for once, we got a good prediction in here on the pod early on. My girl Janice Jen, Charlie would actually know that I've been a day one supporter of Janice. Came out with the victory in the singles. She also came out with the victory in the doubles. She won straight sets over Kimberly Burrell today, the national campus ITF champion herself, in the finals of the WTA 250 there, and then went with her partner, who was also Indonesian, and won the finals in the Indonesian-based tournament. So quite a nice week for Janice. I was pretty impressed. I got to watch a couple matches, maybe toss a couple dollars on her here or there. I was pretty impressed by what she did. Her forehand is up there with the best of them for sure. She does slice all of her backhands. I actually played a tennis tournament this weekend against a player that had a similar strategy, and it drove me nuts. I can see how it's an effective strategy against an opponent. Coach Edick, you said you'd watched her a little bit at a tournament that you saw. You knew a little bit of her background. Are you surprised that she won as the odds-on favorite and steamrolled her way through that tournament with your girl Donna Vekic in there? And what do you think it is that she does so well?
Very depressed about Donna Vekic. Yeah, Janice, like we talked about, her game is different for the women's players. The last player who really predominantly sliced her backhand was Ash Barty. You know, you don't really see many female players doing that. Having said that, though, I think she does not have a good year next year because she is one-dimensional, and the ladies will figure out her game, sort of like they figured out Sophia Kenin's game with all the drop shots. So I'm going to just stick with the hot takes today because that's what kind of mood I'm in. Good job, Janice, but next year, no dice.
Coach Charlie, do you think that a forehand dominant player with a sliced backhand can be effective at the highest level, or do you think that that's something that will only last you so long?
How many RPMs on the slice backhand?
Coach Charlie, I should note, is a big slice backhand player himself. He puts a lot of spin on that backhand. It gives me hell.
She's playing like Louise Busson. You know, the Busson slices the backhand. She plays super heavy with the forehand. So,
yeah,
you know.
I mean, she's been having success though. Did Sarah Ronnie, is she a big slice backhand player as well?
She hit the backhand.
Okay. Coach Charlie,
what is Janice gonna go up to? What's her ranking gonna move up to? She's like in the 80s, and then what is she gonna go to now?
I can tell you right now.
I believe she's a little bit higher than the 80s actually already. I'm bound to say she's cracking close to the top 50. Coach Alex can get us the exact number in a minute as I continue to yap over here. We'll go ahead and ask you first, Coach Charlie. You had a nice guest appearance in the background just now. The Hong Kong winner, by far the most stacked draw of the WTA 250. It was likely the best prize money and most competitive field, won by someone that's already won a Masters 1000 this year, a young player, lots of talent, Victoria Mboko. She kind of collapsed a little bit in the match. She was up a set in 3-0 against Christina Buxa. Looked like she might have some troubles, lost a match point or two in the second set tiebreaker, and pulled it right back together in the third set to bring it home. Do you think that in a finals, it's a benefit to have already won a bigger tournament like that earlier in the year? Or do you think that's something that maybe puts some pressure off of you to feel like you need a 250 when you already have a 1000?
I don't think, I mean, I think it's definitely a help that she has that experience winning that 1000, so definitely she probably felt maybe not as much pressure as that initial final that she had. But I didn't get to see the match, but I did see that the second set, it was like 11-9 in the
Yeah,
second
yeah,
set tiebreak. I
yeah.
think I think the fact that she was able to rebound from that second set loss like that, a lot of people losing such a close, tight, second set just can check out in the third set mentally, after fighting so hard and then losing it. So I think as the fellow podcaster Edmundo would say, I think she showed some great signs of being a mental giant in
Yes.
the third set, being able to just shut the door. I think it was 6-2 in the third.
It
So,
was. It was. Yeah,
she's still pretty young. And she's what, like 19? And
16 or 20. Yeah, she's very
super
young.
young. And I think that's a great sign that she's able to stay mentally locked in like that after losing such a tight second set.
Yeah, and I mean she's been Rybakina in a big stage. She's won a set off of Coco. Like she's shown that she can play with the best of them. So she seems like she's going to be here to stay. Back to Coach Eddie because I'm just putting her on the spot for analysis today. Victoria Mboko. From what I saw her in person in Miami. I got lucky because people weren't too aware of her game yet, and she was playing Paula Badosa. There was another big match going on. Not too many fans. I got to sit in the first row. Her backhand really impressed me personally. It was top tier backhand. She got a lot of power behind it. She could take it down the line. She could take it across. It was consistent. That was my biggest takeaway as to her strengths. I don't know if you've gotten to watch her much, but if you have, what are her strengths? And if not, I'll toss you another question in a second.
She's a strong player, hits the ball super flat, clean hitter, has the good backing of the Canadian Federation, solid coaches. So I think she's in a good position. Obviously, got put in the spotlight after she won in Canada, the Masters 1000. Let's see if she can do better than one Bianca Andreescu, who was a very successful Canadian player. Can she follow it up? Let's see. That's the question, right?
I think that's always the question in tennis, and that's the unfortunate thing with the pros. Part of what makes it so difficult is, I mean, I guess it's the same in any pro sport, but the calendar resets each year, January 1st, and you got to start defending your points right back over again. It's quite a stressful life, and hopefully we'll get some players on here with some experience on that someday, and we'll get to discuss that further. And with that being said, we'll go into our last WTA tournament in Zhuozheng, where the winner was, and I believe I'd mentioned that there is a slight chance of this when we looked at the draw, Anna Blinkova, with a dominant finals win over a young teenager, Lily Tagger, who's been up and coming, a lefty who's got a lot of game, but definitely by and far the most unexpected finals this week, I believe. Anna Blinkova came into this tournament with a losing record on the year on hard courts, and actually a losing record for the majority of the past 5 years on hard courts. She's been a staple in the top 100 of the tour for a while. Pretty solid game all around. She gets her serve broken a little bit above tour average, is relatively good on returning. But she had a good week, and that's just the nature of tennis. Is some tournaments will go how you expect, and just some tournaments somebody has that great week. I honestly personally don't have too much to say about this. Like, obviously she's got experience. I mean, it's good for her. Like, she'll keep herself right in that running for another year. And yeah, I don't have too much to say on this one. Would either of you guys have anything to add on this?
Yeah. Do you think Tagger's someone we should look out for? I mean, she's only like 17.
Yeah,
She's in the top 250.
I think the end of the season in general is usually a good time for people to find those young players to look out for. I think after they get done with those like junior Wimbledon, French Open, US Open, whatever, if they see some progress, they'll usually take a couple months to go train when maybe some other players, they're actually getting paid for their work, take some time off to rest and the young players, obviously, like they're developing, like they're going through puberty, they're just getting stronger and faster and better pretty rapidly. I think I mentioned in the last episode, Mia Pohankova was a player to look out for, and I think Lily Tiger as well. I think the results speak for themselves a lot of times in the juniors, and with her success in the juniors and now making a WTA 250 finals, I think like it's only up for her from here. The ceiling, I can't say too much. I've seen her play once or twice, but I haven't seen too much of her game. But I definitely think that the results speak for themselves, and she'll probably be cracking into that top 100 next year at some point.
Just while we round up the WTA talk, Janice is up to 53 in the live rankings. So she'll get a look at obviously direct entry into all the Grand Slams and many of the other tournaments. She'll still have to play qualifying in some areas, but definitely a huge year for her. I think she had something like 79 wins across
massive.
all
Yeah,
levels.
she was playing the ITF circuit in Australia last year around November, December. So
There you
massive
go.
grade for her. Also was playing college at Pepperdine. I'm not sure. I assume, obviously, considering her tour activity, that she did not return to do that again. And it seems to be a choice that's worked out for her, as it has for many players. Unfortunately, I don't go too far down enough in the tour to see some players that hasn't worked out for it, but I would be interested to see that as well. But yeah, phenomenal year for her, absolutely, nonetheless. So with that, we'll move on to our last tour-related topic before we get into some harassing Coach Charlie, aka asking him some questions. The WTA finals did kick off yesterday on Saturday. I did not have a pleasant time watching my prediction crumble into ashes as Amanda Anisimova got instantly broken to 15 in game one of match one against Elena Rybakina. And Rybakina, whose last name I'm going to say early and often on this podcast now that we have it down pat, never looked back. She either got broken once or 0 times in the entire match by Anisimova. She loved the fast courts out there at the finals. Loved the indoor, loved fast courts. And I mean, she just showed us why she's won a major, why she's been a top 10 staple. I thought that Anisimova maybe developed some more consistency in that. It might just be the break that she's taken, but she looked relatively helpless there, losing 6-3, 6-1. Quite a beatdown, if I may say. Were either of you guys able to catch that match per chance? I was getting my butt kicked at an actual tennis tournament by a D1 recruit. It was a blast.
I didn't see it. No, I didn't see that match. I saw a little bit of the Sabalenka match,
Okay.
and I saw a little bit of the Iga match.
Awesome. You saw 2 that I didn't because I saw a lot of the Coco and Pagula. Coach Edick, did you catch any of these matches?
Yeah, I saw all of the matches. Hardcore women's WTA fan here, but Anisimova, you can get this with her. She can come out flat sometimes, and when she does come out flat, it's a tough watch. So let's hope she turns it around. She'll be playing against Keys, who also came out flat. So somebody's got to get the win. So we'll see what happens.
And I'm still going to be sticking with my predictions there and leaning to Anisimova. As I'd mentioned, I didn't expect Maddie Keys to be too competitive in these finals just based off of the end of her season and what she's accomplished and how much she's been playing. Once again, great player. They all are here. So we'll lean on you, Coach Edick, a little bit on these match analyses. Nathan might need a grammar lesson right there. So going into the next match, we have Aryna Sabalenka beating down on Jasmine Paolini 6-3, 6-1. I think that was relatively expected result from both of us. She probably has the advantage in arguably every aspect of her game compared to Jasmine. Any surprises there? Did it look just as dominant as that scoreline said?
Yeah, that was just yeah.
Coach Charlie will have
yeah, I'm taking taking the horns here. No, but yeah, it's just a tough matchup for Jasmine. The Tiger came out in Sabalenka, and yeah, that was it looked like a beatdown from what I saw.
Should be noted that's a reference to a tiger tattoo that Aryna Sabalenka has. But over to you, Coach Edick. Beatdown, looked like a beatdown, played like a beatdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be an uphill battle, like for Paulini, sort of like, me against Ben Talbot. But okay, yeah, maybe let's move on to the next match. That'd be best.
When Coach Edick says uphill battle, he's referencing his vertically challenged stature compared to Coach Ben Tauber. So going on to the next match, we had Iga Świątek playing against Maddie Keys, the aforementioned Maddie Keys. A 6-1, 6-2 routing by Iga. I think that many of us that know WTA, and even those of us that maybe don't know WTA, know Iga's been the number 1 or 2 player in the world now for the past 5 years. She's just so quick with their forehand, so quick with their backhand. Easily the best female comparison to a Jannik Sinner type, and vice versa. When she's on her A game, she can dominate any player in the world, with the exception sometimes of Sabalenka. And yeah, I mean, Maddie she's not feeling consistent. Iga puts so much pressure on her to just hit tight spots and continue to make balls. And yeah, I actually did catch some of that match, and it just seemed like Maddie Keys was relatively helpless. And when she's not feeling her game, she gets relatively down on herself pretty quickly. So the head was down. She looked disappointed. She looked deflated. Wasn't much she could do there. Would you guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, did you see? It looked like she was trying out a new service motion.
Maddie?
Notice that? She's
I did
going
not.
straight into the trophy. So there were a few serves that I saw. I don't know. I think she's just experimenting, but a few serves that I saw that were just way off. Like I saw the second serve, one of them went like 6 or 7 feet deep. So I mean, I mean, not taking it too hard on herself. She's experimenting with that new motion and seeing how it's going to work out at that higher level. But yeah, that was a beatdown. Iga played well too.
Do we go ahead, Coach Edick, real quick? I'm at
To
fault.
quote the great Mark Jelena, consistency equals success, and Iga is Mrs. Consistency, and Maddie Keys is Mrs. Inconsistent. So
Mark Julian is another former coworker of ours and a current coach still at the USTA national campus that will hopefully join us down the road here. Have some fun insights. Do we think that maybe Maddie Keys is feeling the stress of knowing that she has to defend all 2,000 of those points, which is how many points you win from a Grand Slam twice the next level of the Masters 1000s? Do we think that maybe she's feeling a little early stressed and having to defend that title and feeling the need to keep that game up and adjust with what Coach Charlie said about changing the service motion? We think we'll go to you first, Coach Charlie. Do we think that's like an attempt to keep ahead of the curve and like keep ready, or do we just think that she's not taking this one too hard on herself?
I think it's a little of both. So I think she's trying to, kind of tinker with the serve a little bit at this level. Because during the off season you can tinker with it, but you're not going to really see, the outcome or the results of that change until you're basically at the Australian Open already, right? So I think she's starting a little bit earlier on this, seeing how it works at this higher level. She's going to continue, with it during the off season, and then once she's at the Australian Open, she'll be ready to go with the serve. So I think in that regard, she is thinking about the Australian Open a little bit, but because of that, she's not, letting the results of the finals get to her too much, I think, in the ATP or the WTA finals here.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Edick, you want to add something real quick on that, or are we?
it's tough. It's very tough because she has to defend all those points, and she's a confidence player. When she has it, she has it. When she doesn't, and tennis is a confidence sport. You can have it one day and lose it the next. So hopefully she puts in some hard yards in the off season. We hope she does well, and Aussie always support the U.S. players.
Absolutely. It's a big game of momentum. And I think that a lot of what separates the top players is more so consistency even than a massive talent gap. And then the last match that we had was Coco Gauff versus Jessica Pegula. That one was earlier today. Pegula pulled through in 3 sets. Relatively impressive. She won the first set 6-3. Lost the second set 7-6 despite breaking back with Coco serving for set at 5-4 and 6-5. And then just really played out of her mind in the third set, hit some incredibly good shots, took advantage of her opportunities, had Coco very frustrated. Coco's a pretty animated player in general. But yeah, hit a couple net cords, hit a couple crazy passing shots. And I think that she had a pretty solid game plan. She seemed to be targeting the Coco Gauff forehand. Coco with her forehand and backhand, I think would be relatively comparable to like an Alexander Zverev in the sense that she leans on the backhand. The forehand's not too strong despite being a righty, where usually the case is the opposite. Yeah, Coco shanked some forehands. She hit some lows. She hit some wide. She didn't seem too confident, and it let Jess ultimately walk away with a 6-2 victory in the decider there. Coco is a player that we definitely thought could go far. Jess was one that we said could be a sleeper. Do we think with Jess having beaten Sabalenka in her last match up with her, having beaten Iga recently this year, and now taking out Coco early on, do we think that there could be a little push for Jess Pegula to maybe get into the WTA finals, Coach Edick?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's 1-0. I also think that Sabalenka was probably the most happy about this victory because now, she always struggles with Coco. So now she's only got to beat one of the two, and Coco has to win 2 matches. So I think Sabalenka was the big winner with that result.
Yeah. Coach Charlie, you think Pegula is a threat to win it all here at the WTA finals now?
No, I don't.
That's true. We got a
semifinalist.
Semifinalist. So I have Anna Samova as my prediction from our previous episode, Coach Edick, when I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a little safer with just Sabalenka to win it all.
No, I said Sabalenka is not going to win. That was my only prediction.
Sabalenka is not going to win.
And I'm sticking by that.
I was only the exact opposite of his prediction. Coach Charlie, if you were to give us one player to win it or tell us that Iga and Sabalenka won't, let's do it this way. Iga and Sabalenka or the field?
Iga, Sabalenka.
Okay.
I'll double Mrs. Consistency here. Iga all the way.
Even with the fast courts and her held draw that she's drawn here with 3 big headers, we think she pulls through and takes it all.
Yeah, I'm all in on Iga.
We love Iga. Jazda, baby.
I love it. And Coach Charlie, you would know what it's like to play against a consistency player. A little bit of background on Coach Charlie's tennis game, since he'll play it down. He's been a very solid player, club player. Coach Charlie has a huge serve, hits very flat forehand, hits with a lot of spin on his backhand. He's a very smart player. He's very good at analyzing the game, watching out for your tendencies, your tactics, and adjusting to that. He's also like 6'3", so gets a lot of leverage on points. Somewhat fast, maybe. Not too fast, he's saying over there. With your form, the way you hit the forehand, it's very similar to a lot of those WTA players. What advantages do you think hitting a flat forehand compared to one with a lot of topspin, such as a grinder like myself or Edick hits, gives you an advantage when playing matches?
It's a double-edged sword, because when you're playing the flat ball, it's going to go through the court faster and you can probably hit some more winners. But at the same time, the chances of you making it are just decreasing. So basically I've decided, I'm not too fast. I'm not going to be able to move as well as some of the other people. So I'm going to try to go for a little bit earlier on. So that means there's going to be some days where, you're going to be on and you're basically going to take the racket out of the other player's hand. And there's going to be some days where you're just making unforced error after unforced error, kind of adopting the Mr. Inconsistency game style, which can get you so far. But, to be able to be at the highest level, you need to, have that extra gear where you can just go into like the no miss mode and be able to just track down every ball. So it's playing the flat ball is going to be like, you can take the racket out, but it's a double-edged sword. So there's going to
Yeah,
be some times where you lose to people that you can't understand how.
I think that's probably best seen in Jess Pegula's game, as we just previously mentioned. She's definitely taken some somewhat shocking losses to much lower rated players because she just simply can't put a ball in the court, but she hits one of the flattest balls on tour.
It's fun to hit, though. It's fun.
When she's
Fun to
on,
hit fast.
anybody out? Yeah, I'm not capable of that one, unfortunately. How fast do you hit your first serve, by the way? I'll just have to check up on that.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays not very fast, but maybe, hot day at the national campus, hard court, it could maybe get to 120-ish, around the 120s. So
Yeah, he'll have me
if I'm
post
all
against the
stretched
fence.
out and good
Yeah.
temperature.
He has me with like one hand against the chain link fence in the back, just praying half the time with that serve. Part of that is the forearms, which is something that I've learned more about recently. Coach Charlie's girlfriend likes to point out that his forearms are larger than his biceps, which is probably actually true, believe it or not. It's something that I learned recently because that's ridiculous. It's something that I've learned recently as I've been training more to play some competitive tennis. I think most people wouldn't think about that. The strength in your forearms is very, very important in playing tennis. What benefits do you think that weirdly shaped arm of yours provides when you're playing?
It helps me create a lot of racket head speed. And then you can use that racket head speed. You can use it, like how I try to do and play flat. You can, really get a lot of pace on the ball. Or you can use it like Edmundo here, create a lot of topspin and just, you can create a lot of RPMs on the ball. So it really just helps you create that racket head speed.
Yeah, no, I've seen that. I think it also is good for when another person hits the ball at you very hard, kind of absorbing that power and being able to keep some control on the ball and keeping it in the court, which is key when you play at a high level because that ball can come at you really fast every time. Coach Edick, do you want to toss in that next one about coaching from coach to coach? I did coach for a while, but not at the national campus like these guys at the pinnacle of tennis coaching.
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit about your coaching experience. We spent a lot of time on court together, but what would you say is your favorite group to coach and why?
So in my time coaching, most of it was at the national campus, and they had me in pretty much every space. I think there's 50 plus different programs there, and the only one I didn't do was tennis 101 for beginners in Espanol. Everything else I did, and I would say
dormant class, I might add, does not exist anymore. But when he says groups, he means he's taught all ages from like preschoolers and 4 to 5-year-olds all the way up to adults that are doing senior type programs. So go and proceed, coach.
Yeah, I would say my favorite to work with are like the early teens, kind of teenager, just before teenager that are starting to play some tournaments because they've got usually a good athletic background and they can a lot of times pick things up pretty quickly. So at least for me as the coach, it's nice to see them being able to make those changes and see them progress in that way. I mean, I liked something different about all of the different levels and ages, but I just enjoyed being able to work with that, earlier teenage, playing tournaments, starting to commit to tennis a little bit more. So it's nice to see that transition, and yeah, I would say that kind of level.
So we got a little background on Coach Charlie's coaching over here. Back in college, way, way, way back in the day, he also was a club tennis player at University of Central Florida. Club tennis is usually the most competitive level of tennis you can find at a college outside of playing for their actual team. You'll form a club there. It's usually like some sort of competition to determine A team, B team, C team. You'll take your best players and go to other universities, usually around whatever state you live in, and compete in different tournaments. And you'll culminate with some sort of year-end finals as well. Coach Charlie was the captain of his club tennis team. At one point, I believe they take, what is it, 6-month rotations, Coach Charlie, or is it 1 year rotations? Is
1
club
year, 1 year,
1 year.
yeah,
So
full
he
year.
spent a year as club tennis captain. How would you say the level of club tennis competitiveness rated for you, just compared to other levels of tennis you've been at? And what was your favorite thing about getting to be the captain of the team, fun or not?
Yeah, so I'll say this, the level of club tennis, it's incredibly huge variety. We would go in 2-day tournaments. And the first day you do your pool play, and you can be playing anyone from like, oh, 15-30, 15-40, 15-60, like they don't know the scoring. Um, to then the next match you're playing against, like a former D1 that's in grad school. Um, so the first day of the tournament, the level is so crazy different. And then the next day, the championship day is when you'll have some good matches. I played in the Florida section, and so that's generally a stronger section, and each the level kind of varies by section as well. But we would play against these like University of Miami, University of Florida, and somehow every year they've got someone that's playing Davis Cup for like North Macedonia, like doing grad school at UF, or like WTA 400, can't make enough money on the tour, so going to law school for Miami. So the level was pretty good, I would say. Generally, the higher levels, I would give it like a UTR of like 12, and then it just went all the way down to the bottom to beginners. My favorite part of being in that leadership position with club tennis that particular year was just being able to revive the season, because it was a COVID year. The USTA was not even going to be uh, running any kind of programming for club tennis for the state of Florida. And then we were able to just communicate with all the other schools to basically say like, okay, well, we don't need you guys, USTA, to run this. And we were able to just organize it on our own and run our own season. And then USTA still acknowledged the results and were able to give us, bids to the national championships based on, the season that we ran on our own. So that was my favorite part of, being in that leadership position for that year.
Sounds like they had a good year to have you at the helm right there. And that's definitely a little interesting insight into another level of tennis that some people might not be aware of. And then we'll wrap it up real quick on this section before we go into our drop or lob segment. Coach Edick had a brief stint where he was interested in becoming a professional pickleball player of some sort, was convinced that he could make it on the tour. Not to say that he couldn't make it on the tour, but I think that maybe his interest in that dream might have waned a little bit at some point. The appeal might have dropped off, which we'll discuss more at a later date. Obviously, tennis is the best racket sport. I believe in all three of our opinions, although everybody's opinion is subjective. But Coach Charlie and Coach Edick had some battles in pickleball. I'm not sure if they see eye to eye on who's better, so I'm going to be a professional instigator real quick and ask them, who is the better pickleball between you guys? Coach Edick, I'm going to let you go second. Coach Charlie, you answer first. You take the lead.
All right. I'll say singles. Like I said before about my play style, I incorporate that same way into pickleball. So there'll be days where if the forehand is on, I try to take not the racket, I take the paddle out of the hands. But if it is not on, he's taken me. But doubles is no question I'm better.
Okay. Coach Edick, we're going to give you a quick retort, but not too quick because I don't want to give you the
I am
power.
not going to disagree with Charlie there as much as I want to. Although I will say it depends on who the partner is in doubles. If I'm playing with Ben Tauber, we have no shot, but that's it.
Ben's gonna enjoy the lore when he comes on here. I will also add a quick side note, and then we'll go into drop or lob, that pickleball doubles with Coach Charlie and Coach Edick was the first time that Coach Edick got really mad at me and called me a mental midget because I sucked so bad that I could not win a match with him no matter how hard I tried. He was convinced that I was putting in no effort, but I can promise all of the viewers out there and myself, I was trying, I just sucked. Still not a pickleball guy. Love tennis, love padel. Plenty of great racket sports out there, and pickleball is great for a bunch of people. So we'll go ahead into our final segment. Coach Charlie, I know that you caught our pilot episode and that you're ecstatic to catch up on the second one as well. So you'll know that we do this. We did it with each other the first two episodes. Now we have guests that we are going to be relying on for this. We're going to ask you to drop or lob a couple of different things. If you're going to drop it, it means you don't like it. You're not a fan. If you want to lob it, you're a fan. You want to keep it. Do you understand the rules, contestant?
I understand.
All right. Let's go ahead and begin. Coach Edick, we can rotate in between these if you want, or I can fire them all off. But I'll actually give Coach Edick the first one on that note because he wrote this.
Sure.
It's better understand.
Absolutely. So, Charlie, drop or lob, playing with 25 pounds tension in your racket.
Lob. Lob all day long.
And Coach Charlie, what advantage does that give you, or what does the tension do to a racket?
Oh my, it's like a trampoline. So you got to have incredible hands and hand-eye coordination. But you can counterpunch basically anything.
More power, less control, in short terms.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You got to shorten the backswing. You got to be able to really just, put the ball right in the sweet spot every time. And the key is having that short backswing, because any kind of a big, long swing at the ball, I mean, it's going to just fly.
All right. And to our now corporate man, question number 2, drop or lob, coaching tennis as a lifelong profession.
Careful with your answer, Charlie.
I'll say, woo.
Got Coach Charlie on the hot seat. You can go political. Go
For
honest.
me, I'm gonna say drop. For me, I'm gonna say drop. I'll say in a full-time capacity.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why is that?
you're gonna. I mean, at least where I was in Florida, in Orlando, you're gonna cook under the sun. Your body's gonna get destroyed if you're doing that for 30, 40 years. I could see somebody doing it if they're indoors, out of the sun. I can see that. But outdoors in Orlando, full time, 30, 40 years, drop all day long.
That is completely fair. I don't think anyone would argue on that. Question number 3, drop or lob, switching lives with professional tennis player Adrian Manarino.
Lob. Yeah, lob. That would be incredible. You can, you're just, the ATP Tour follows a great calendar. You're going to great destinations with good weather, right? You're going to Monaco in like April, and you just make like the second or third round of these tournaments. You lose on a Wednesday. You don't play again until Monday. Just go and enjoy these destinations. Nobody's gonna recognize you. Just like I think he's what, like 5'10", 5'11". Like nobody's gonna pick him out and be like, oh, that guy's a professional athlete. Let me go up and bother him. Unless they're like from his hometown. So yeah.
Yeah,
that.
a little inside joke there, because Coach Charlie and I had discussed if you could be one pro player on the tennis tour, who would you want to be and why? And he was our answer for all of those reasons that were aforementioned. Coach Edick, I'll let you take the next question in first person, and then we'll toss it back to me for the last one.
All right. Drop or lob. You're the student. Are you dropping or lobbing me as a coach? Meaning, would you take a lesson with me or not?
Lob, I would. He's got the he'll push you. He'll push you. You know, he'll call you things you don't want to be called, but it makes you think about it in a different way, right? You go to a place you don't want to go to, but you got to.
Absolutely.
Good answer.
When I was playing tennis, I often wanted coaches to be a little bit harder on me. I appreciate the criticism, and Coach Edick called my backhand unserviceable, I believe, or something of that sort the first time I played with him. And once again told me that if I wasn't going to take it seriously, he didn't want to see me out there, and made me push myself and find my backhand for the first time in years. And I really appreciate it. Maybe other people didn't quite have the same viewpoint, but Coach Edick's pretty intense out there on the court.
Yeah, he made some people. He made the HPA kids cry.
Yeah, high performance. Yeah, I've heard stories of that. And the last questions can come from me, relatively similar, but in a different context. You and I are in a match, Coach Charlie. Drop or lob me?
Oh, I'm gonna lob you. You're too quick.
But how's my overhead?
Overhead? How's your serve?
Yeah, it's not good. Well, it's gotten better now, but yes, Coach Charlie will lob me. Not quite as vertically challenged as my co-host. Unfortunately, I'm still not going to be getting back to that ball. No capability to hit a tweener. But I appreciate you calling me quick, and I'm going to be asking all our guests.
I would lob both of you.
You would lob both of us. Fair enough. And
I would lob Edick just so I could see him get ready to hit an overhead.
It's all in the wrist, baby. It's all in the wrist. Hey, can I give a quick shout out, Nathan? Can I give a quick shout out?
Absolutely.
I want to shout out Coach Connor Calhoun from the USTA National Campus, who is getting married next week. And one of the funniest, probably the funniest moment ever as a coach for me as a coach at the National Campus, and I think for Charlie too, was when Connor got hit in the neck, square in the neck. He was serving from the service line to our adult campers, and he hit a serve, and as he was going up to hit the next serve, he got hit in the neck. And this was like second week on campus after he had another incident with another lady, and he was working on that neck for the week to come, super red. He's come a long way, but the best part of that story is that Charlie and I were the ones serving to begin, and then he said, no, I got it. So we were just watching and got to see the whole thing. Wasn't that good stuff, Charlie?
Yep. Getting like Barbara from Long Island got him right in the neck.
Yep. Right in the neck.
Yeah, congrats to Connor Calhoun. I can finally say I have seen his fiance in person, so I can confirm she does exist.
Good for you, Coach Connor. Congratulations from me as well. We're all friends with Coach Connor. Great guy. And on that note, with a shout out to Coach Connor, that will conclude our third episode of the Drop Lob Pod and our first episode with a guest. Thank you for coming on, Coach Charles Lee Pittman III. And thank you for joining us, Coach Edmundo Vladimir Previctin. It's been a great time from your co-host, Nathan, as well. We're going to be signing off, and we look forward to hearing you guys back here in the next one.